Life within the Sterling mansion transformed dramatically with the arrival of Zena. The halls echoed with laughter and happiness. Auntie and Rose showered Zena with all the luxuries money could buy, ensuring she lacked nothing. In order not to encounter Clara by any chance, they decided to move very far away and start life all over again. They sold their house and everything they owned, leaving no trace behind. As the years passed, Zena blossomed into a poised and graceful young lady, surrounded by the luxuries that her parents could afford. She also started noticing that she resembled neither of her parents. She looked completely different. She started asking questions, but her parents would always find a way to divert her attention. All of Clara's effort to locate the Sterling couple proved abortive. This led to her falling deep into depression. Edward, unaware of the deep secret of his wife, tried all within his power to make her happy, assuring her that his love for her isn't dependent on children. He also guaranteed his certainty that they would have children somehow. However, no matter how hard he tried, Clara remained the same. One day, Zena fell seriously ill and was taken to the best hospital in town. After several diagnoses, the doctor discovered that she would be needing a kidney transplant. Her parents were very worried and panic set in. They were ready to spend whatever money they have to make sure their daughter gets well. But there was one problem. There isn't any donor available. Without any further thoughts, Andy and Rose unanimously volunteered to donate one of their kidneys to their baby girl. First, the doctors took Andy into the lab to check if he's a match with his daughter. Unfortunately, he isn't. They decided to try Rose. The same problem. The doctor asked how possible it was that none of them were a match for their daughter. In that moment, Zena confirmed her initial suspicions. She felt an overwhelming rush of fear and panic. She started crying. Everyone present assumed she was crying because of the illness. Neither Rose nor Andy imagined that their girl had figured the truth. The ride home was silent as both Andy and Rose were worried as to how to handle the situation. Zena, on the other hand, was wondering if she should confront her parents about her suspicions. But again, she doesn't want to hurt their feelings. She knows how much they truly love and care about her, and she feared that her inquiries may cause them grief. After a few hours, she mustered up the courage and asked the very one question her parents had been hiding from. They were both surprised at this, but they shoved it off, saying it was absurd for her to entertain such thoughts in her heart. Yet, as the days passed, an unspoken tension began to permeate the household. Zena, though raised in love and wealth, harbored an innate curiosity about her roots. Andy and Rose, fearing the revelation of the truth, shielded her from the knowledge of her humble beginnings. They also had the health issues to deal with, and the only resort was to go find her biological parents to seek help. One day, as Clara and her husband were enjoying the evening breeze, Andy and Rose drove into their compound. The duo weren't expecting any guests, so they stood up to see who the visitors were. On finding out, Edward was surprised and happy as he hadn't been able to reach them all these years. Clara, on the other hand, had mixed feelings. She wondered why the couple came to see them. Soon after they got into the house, Rose knelt down in tears, and in that moment, Clara felt her world falling apart. She immediately lost her breath and fainted. Everyone in the room seemed to understand what was going on except Edward. He immediately took care of his wife, and within a few minutes, she was okay. Rose continued. She told the story of how the transaction they had made with Clara and the dire situation they are in right now. In that moment, Andy joined her on the floor, pleading that they help save their daughter. Andy and Rose's daughter. Edward couldn't believe everything he has just heard. He became speechless, literally speechless. He couldn't move, neither could he say anything. Clara held on to him, apologizing while weeping profusely. He pushed her away and left the house. Clara asked to see her daughter immediately, but they refused as they could see all the emotions in her, fearing she would take Zena away from them. Andy and Rose waited for Edward to return, and they pleaded with him for forgiveness. However, Edward insisted on reporting them to the police, on the exception that they returned his daughter to him. Now at a crossroad, the couple needs to decide what's most important to them. Should they give up on the daughter they've loved their whole life, or should they face the consequence of their poor decision? They decided that they would bring Zena to see them the next day. Rose was in sobriety. The thought of losing her daughter was unimaginable. But at this point, they were willing to do anything to save their child. That evening, they sat Zena down and told her everything. They were expecting Zena to hate or scream at them, but instead, she held her mom closely and cried her eyes out. She told them that she would love to meet her biological parents. Clara has not been able to say a word to her husband since the couple left. She locked herself in her room and she began packing her things as she imagined that her husband would never forgive her. She stayed up all night, gathering her stuff and arranging her boxes. In the morning, she moved her things to the car, but as she was about leaving, her husband held her back. He freely communicated how he truly felt. He expressed his disappointment and rage over the whole incident, but at the same time, he tried to understand the reason behind his wife's actions. He promised to forgive her only if they can get their daughter back. The next day, Andy, Rose, and Zena showed up at their house. Edward couldn't contain his emotions. Zena was a replica of him. He held her closely with a tight grip, refusing to let go. He noticed how healthy and well cared for she looked. His heart was about to burst open as he couldn't hold back anymore. He turned to Andy and Rose, thanking them for taking care of their child. Now it was time to crack the nutshell. And this shell is not an easy one to crack. Edward reminded them of their agreement. His only condition for forgiveness is him getting his daughter back. The couple begged and pleaded and cried, saying that their entire life depends on the girl. Despite the seeming charade, Edward will not flinch. Seeing that nothing was getting to him, Andy said, "It's okay if we cannot get our daughter back, but please, can you let us remain a part of our lives?" Instantly, Zena spoke up saying, "I have always wondered why I look different from my parents, but now I fully understand. It is true that I have been lied to my whole life, and I feel really hurt. However, these are the only parents I have known my whole life. They've been nothing but amazing. I lack nothing. They provide for my emotional, mental, and physical well-being. It will be an act of ungratefulness if I turn my back at them at the time they needed me the most. My birth mother had made her choice the moment she gave me up, and each party must keep their part of the bargain. I understand that me and my birth father are the victims here, but the deed has been done. Therefore, I will continue to be a sterling daughter. That is who I have been, and that is who I will continue to be. As for you, Dad," referring to Edward, "I will always visit, and a part of me will always remember that I have a second parent. Please find a place in your heart to forgive my mother." The room, of course, was filled with mixed emotions. Some were happy and grateful, others were sad but also grateful. They all agreed to Zena's suggestions. Edward forgave his wife and volunteered to be a donor for his daughter. Both parents took their girl to the hospital and watched her recover. Zena grew up in the loving care of two parents. This is a story my mother told me. Did you learn anything in this story? Please let me know in the comment section. If you enjoyed watching this video, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends as these help us grow. Thank you and see you in our next story. Bye!